mic. Yeah. All I need is one mic. Yeah. All I need is one mic.
Hey everybody, welcome back to One Mic, where I watch shit so you don't have to. And today I'm here to talk about Season 5, Episode 4 of FX's Snowfall, entitled Revolutions. This episode, for me, left a little bit to be desired. You know, I was saying last week that every scene in each of these episodes means something, and I like that about this show. And I'm not going to sit here and say that these scenes didn't mean anything. I think very clearly this episode was used to kind of like move pieces and set up the storylines that are going to take place in the second half of this season. And if you want to kind of like shift direction a little bit, that's necessary, and I get that. But I think when you have these kinds of episodes where you want to kind of like shift the direction of the show a little bit, you need to counterbalance that with some interesting events that take place. And there were moments where it just didn't seem like anything was really happening in this episode. It felt very much like filler. I'll give you an example. There's a scene where after Franklin finds out about the raid that took place in the projects, him and Veronique roll up to the club, and they go in, and the door kind of like bursts open a little bit, and Peaches jumps up and looks alarmed, and Franklin just goes into a different room. Peaches exchanges some glances and sits down. What was the point of that scene? Like, the show that Franklin opened the door fast made Peaches jump? Like that just felt weird. Like, you could have just had Franklin go in and have him go into the office and discuss the raid, but for some reason they felt the need to show Peaches like jumping up, like alarmed. And it's like, that's a little thing, but there was a lot of moments in this episode where I'm just kind of like, where is this going? And it just didn't really seem to have really much anything that happened very much anything happened this episode. That was such a butchered fucking sentence. I'm just gonna call it out and say like that sentence way up. But what I meant to say is that it seemed like not very much happened. Very little happened in this episode, and they were steering the direction. So I want to talk about the direction that it looks like they're steering the show here, and I think the title of the episode, Revolutions, really speaks to that. And I think it's purposeful and intentional that it wasn't revolution, it was revolutions in the plural. And I think we see multiple revolutions starting to take place here. Starting off with Leon. And this is the first thing that I didn't really feel good with regarding this episode, or feel good about, I'm sorry, with this episode, is that Leon all of a sudden is fucking Fred Hampton out of nowhere. Like, it's not like we've seen Leon like constantly complaining about racism or inequality or the way the police are treated. Like, of course it's come up and of course it's happened, but this turn to like revolutionary that it looks like Leon's going on feels a little bit fast. Like, we arrived at this point of like Leon's ready to take on the police a little bit too quickly, if you ask me. But that's one of our revolutions here, is that Leon appears to want to be like a Black Panther who's all about action. And there's actually one good scene. That sounded so mean. There's actually one good scene amongst all the shitty ones. No, but no, I don't mean it that way. But there is a good scene where Sissy comes to meet with Leon, and after he misses this dinner, and they have this conversation about what it's like to be someone like that. When her and Alton were part of the Panthers, and she, explains to him like it's not all about fucking guns and shit like that and shooting back, because at the end of the day, you go that direction, more than likely you're gonna end up losing, they're gonna end up winning, and that's what they want. And that's how the system is set up. So you got to educate yourself and learn how to go up against the system, was essentially her point. And her, I don't know the name of the actress that plays Sissy, but her and Leon, Isaiah Johns, I believe is his name, they've shared a couple of really good scenes. Like, I love the scene where she was braiding his hair last season after he killed Scully's daughter. Like, those two have a very interesting bond that I think is equally as interesting as her bond with Franklin. And I liked seeing them on screen together, because it kind of felt like, I'm his mother too. So like, I'm speaking as Sissy regarding Leon, like, I'm his mother too, and I need to be there for him because he's clearly going through some shit. And I think there's still some of that that leftover like filthy residue that Leon has on himself over what happened to Scully's daughter. And I think she's coming into this conversation silently acknowledging that weight that he still carries over that. So I really like that scene, but I do feel like this direction for Leon is a little bit, we got here a little bit too fast, if I'm being honest. But it looks like that's the direction they're going. But what I do think is interesting about this is that this, again, kind of pits Franklin and Leon against each other, because Franklin was given the direction to take the complete opposite approach. You know, he talks to Teddy, and Teddy's like, look, man, they don't care. They don't give a fuck about what happens in South Central with your black ass. If it was in the fucking suburbs, they'd send in the National Guard. But they don't give a fuck about what happens in there. So you stay isolated. You stay with your family. You don't fuck with none of that shit that's happening in the streets, and you'll be fine. And conversely, you got Leon, who's like, these are my people. Like, my people are getting attacked by dogs, like that, and that was so heavy-handed. Like having, what's his name, Einstein, attacked by dogs, so they can like loosely tie what's happening here to what happened in like the Jim Crow era. And he even says like, you know, no, they might as well just brought fire hoses. I'm like, it's not really the same. Like, I feel like they're really reaching to tie this to some holy fucking crusade against against racism. And it's like, it's there for sure, but like tying this to like the civil rights movement, I think is a little bit of a stretch, but they do it nonetheless. And but these dogs attack fuck it, what I just said his name, Einstein. Yes, these dogs attack Einstein, and Leon's very much like, these are my people. They're coming after us in the streets. I need to be here to show solidarity with these people in the projects, these people in the hood who are doing this work. These, like he said, these are my people. Conversely, you got Franklin up here, like in this fucking secluded ass house where he, according to him, doesn't even need a gun. And he's having dinner at this fucking fancy fucking Benihana ass place and shit, completely isolated from what's going on the street. And I feel like that's going to make for, I guarantee you they're going to have an argument where Leon's like, they're killing us down here in these streets. These white folks, these police, they're coming after us. And meanwhile, you sitting up there all lavish in your fucking fancy house on your silk sheets and your soft couches, not giving up, like basically making Franklin out to be a sellout. I feel like that we are going in that direction. And again, it feels very heavy-handed and pretty quick, if you ask me. But yeah, I mean, we'll see how it plays out, but that's just how this one felt for me. And then on the opposite side, Sissy comes back, which I feel like they could have stood to talk a little bit more about her ability to come back. So like they talked about her motivations, but what exactly makes it safe for her now that wasn't safe for her when she left? Like, I don't know. I feel like that could have been talked about a little bit more, but Sissy comes back and she clearly wants to be more involved in both businesses, both the real estate and the gangster shit. She wants to be involved. And at the end of the episode, we find out apparently, I'm assuming this dude is like, like a hitman or some shit. I don't know, but apparently I'm guessing, hired somebody to kill Teddy, which there's a whole different kind of revolution right there. And it's interesting because that kind of flies in the face of what she just told Leon in like the previous scene. She's like, you know, essentially trying to talk him out of running up heavily armed and taking on the police because she saw the guns that he supposedly got from Avi. And then she goes around and meets with like, yo, we got to kill this CIA motherfucker. Like, whoa, like that's an escalation that's beyond what Leon's trying to do. So it's like on one hand, she's like, you got to chill out. And on the other hand, she's escalating the fuck out of this shit behind everybody's back. And you know that's not going to work well with Franklin, because Franklin don't like when people start making plans and doing shit behind his back. And that is problematic. You would think, like, I don't like the idea of Sissy coming back and immediately causing problems. And I think that's causing problems in that, well, one, just the idea of killing the CIA. Well, he's not technically in the CIA, I guess. But killing Teddy creates a whole new avenue of problems. And she didn't tell Franklin about it. It's the same problem with Alton deciding he was just going to spill the beans to the press, and he didn't tell anybody about it. And to have his parents both doing stupid shit and not telling him about it, like, and with the not telling him about it being the stupid part, because maybe if he knows, they can navigate it. But he's going to get blindsided by this in some way, either a way where this person tries to kill Teddy and fails, and now this is going to come back on Franklin, or this person successfully kills Teddy, and now where's he going to get his drugs from? So either way, this is going all bad for Franklin, and Sissy just moronically is doing it on her own behind his back. So like, again, another thing where it's just like, I feel like this doesn't really make sense. Like she just saw the results of Alton doing something behind Franklin's back, and then comes back, and as soon as she touches down, gets all preachy to Leon, and then goes and does something even stupider than what Leon's trying to do. So like I said, this episode, in addition to like not having too much happen, just had a lot of stuff that just didn't really sit well with me. So one other thing, well, there's a couple other things that I want to talk about. And again, this is another thing that I didn't like. So the guy Buckley, I called him Bo in the first episode, which is what Louis referred to him, and I think that's something to note actually, because I think it's pretty clear that him and Louis have some sort of past, and that's why Jerome don't really fuck with him. But she calls him Bo. Everyone else calls him Buckley. Well, she called him Bo in that first episode. She called him Buckley in this one. But I looked the dude up. His name is Bo Buckley. Because, like, everybody called him Buckley. I'm like, I called this motherfucker Bo in episode 1. But, yeah, his name is Bo Buckley. And he's the one that sent the raid down to the projects, with the attack on Einstein. Leon and Jerome were let go, but I guess they arrested some corner boys, probably took a shitload of drugs, all that stuff. And he meets with Louis, and Louis like, yo, what the fuck, man? Like, how you gonna run up on your people like this? Like I said, I'll give you a person. Like, why you didn't give me no time? And he's like, oh, I guess you won't have to ask. I won't have to ask twice no more. And then he says, like, what do you mean, my people? And he's like, these motherfuckers was calling me Redbone. I'm like, bruh. Like, I'm telling you, man, the way I rolled my eyes, I didn't know if the motherfucker was gonna come back in the front of my head. Like, did he just justify this shit because motherfuckers call him Redbone? Like, boy. That was some wild shit, bro. Redbone. Like, oh my God. These people, like my people, they call me Red. But one, men don't call other men Redbone. Like, this is that doesn't happen. I guarantee you ain't nobody called this dude Redbone. Nobody. And then secondly, like, why would you take that shit that much to heart? As a Redbone myself. And I have been called Redbone by a gay dude. Like, he saw me out there. Like, it was this gay couple walking. Like, I was called that shit by a gay dude. And I just, like, laughed at it. Like, yo, this is wild. Because I think I was in California at the time. Like, yo, y'all wild out here, Cali. But, yeah, as that being his motivation for, like, saying that he don't fuck with them like that was just, man. Like, that's what the best y'all could come up with, was that they called this motherfucker Redbone. Oh, my God. That took me out, y'all. I'm sorry. Oh, what a shitty scene, bro. He called me Redbone. One thing that the last thing I want to talk about, where I'm at, 13 minutes. The last thing I want to talk about that isn't something that I found problematic, something that I found to be kind of interesting, is that they seem to also be setting up the introduction to Gangsta Rap, which, I can't say as we all know, as a lot of us know, but not all of us. We had the crack epidemic that this show covers that started in LA in the 80s. But then also in the 80s, you started to get, in response to what's happening, just like, with Leon and the police raids and all this kind of stuff. In response to that is when you start getting your anti-police gangster rap music. And they dipped the toe in the gangster rap pool with this kid Maurice, who looks like Dwayne Wayne from a different world. Got the fucking flip-up glasses and shit. He writes a rap where he's basically telling everything that happens, like some 50 Cent How to Rob type shit. He just dry snitching on everybody. He's not putting any names out. Well, no, I think he does say Franklin in his raps, but he's basically outlining everything that they just dry snitching on a whole operation. And, everybody gets pissed off except Jerome, who seems to be actually kind of interested in this music, even though at some point he seems frustrated to hear how he's referenced in one of these songs. But still, he's like listening to the tapes and he seems interested in it. And we're in 1986, and you think about the history of gangster rap, this is lining right up with where that shit started at. 87, you had Ice-T's 6 in the Morning, which was on his debut album. I forget the name of it, Rhyme something. That was on his debut album. We get Straight Outta Compton from NWA in 88. Obviously, you all know what Straight Outta Compton is, when gangster rap really, really took off. And then you end up with, you get the DOC in 89. You get the Chronic in 91, 92, something like that. So like all these benchmarks in gangster rap history happen right around this time, and this kind of stuff kicks it off. So I like the idea of maybe the second half of this season heading in a direction where gangster rap becomes intertwined with the police and their raids and the way they look at the drug game and the black folks in the projects or in the hood or whatever, and the way everything kind of like came to a boil during that time, and maybe even leading into, I don't think this show plans on existing in the 90s, but you know, maybe at some point, if it does get to that point, moving on to how this ended up in like the Rodney King situation or something like that. So I'm a little bit interested in that. But yeah, overall, man, I thought this episode didn't have a lot that happened, and I had problems with Leon's instant Fred Hampton turn, Sissy's hypocritical bad decisions, and not telling Franklin, and and Buckley being cool with sicking dogs on black folks because he got called Redbone, which that never fucking happens, man. But yeah, it hit or miss. Like, they're not all gonna be fire, man. And y'all might disagree with me. Maybe y'all love this episode, man. But this one left a lot to be desired for me. But so far, I'm still enjoying the season. I thought the first 3 episodes were fire. Looking forward to the last. I don't know how many. I'm assuming 10. Looking forward to the last 6. I think I looked at the episode titles, and the next 2 are like a 2-part episode. Like, I think it was called like the Iliad or something. It was like Iliad Part 1 and Iliad Part 2 for the next 2 weeks. So if they have a Part 1 and a Part 2, that lets you know something important is going to happen at the end of the next episode. So we can look forward to that one next week. So I'll see you guys next Thursday for episode 5. Till then, peace.